but I hope that people will see my story, recognize in that something that's valuable to them, and provide them with a reason to go and do something about it. My career journey was not really planned. I came from a background, working class, South London background. Nobody in my family had ever gone on to, my granddad was a postman, was a World War II veteran, postman, railway worker. My mum was a secretary. My dad had been at sea and then got a job in a bank. So I didn't have peer group. I didn't have examples. And then my auntie married a chap who worked in advertising, and that was a moment for me that, I was always drawn to TV, and I was always drawn to the creative industries, and the realization at 13 that I could earn a living in that world was a real eye-opener. So I was moving in that direction, got a job in an agency, but got a job as an account man, which is on the sort of production side, it's not the finance side. And then really everything just happened in sequence. And so I always tell people, I've never applied for a job. Those jobs have found me, those roles have found me, but I've always been relentlessly curious and driven. And so started as an account man, became a creative, and that really defined where things went. So I had one part of me mentally in the creative side and one part of me in the entrepreneurial business side. So from the agency, I worked on blue chip clients and learned my trade, but then had an opportunity with video games with Virgin and Sega right at the start of the video games wars in the 90s. And so they hired me, and I became marketing director of Sega in UK for 4 years. And from there, because of the work we did, Sky hired me to do something, both similar companies, challenger brands, disruptors, innovators, and that pattern has followed throughout my career. So then I found myself at Virgin running Sega in the early days of video games. I'm very proud of launching Sonic the Hedgehog, and many listeners will it always brings a smile to people's face when you tell them what you did. That was from launch to market dominance to establishing a whole category of entertainment. Similarly at Sky, I was responsible for the early days of marketing, of the early days of multi-channel television, always with a strong leaning towards the content and the programming side of things. From there, I had met Chris Evans when he first came down from Manchester as this kind of young rock and roll DJ, and he and I were friends from the Sega days. And then it followed that I went to go and run Ginger Television when we were doing, really innovative stuff. Game show, Don't Forget Your Toothbrush, or TFI Friday, which most people will remember, the national radio show. But we wanted to become a media owner rather than, and so I had been working on that, and ultimately that led to me being involved in the start of 365, which started, it was one of the first big UK .coms. I'd been involved with autonomy as well whilst I was at Ginger. So I was really doing two roles at the same time, autonomy and MD of Ginger. Very different roles, but autonomy, fairly famous, was created by the guy they call the UK's Bill Gates, Mike Lynch. And so I was launching an internet software company and running a entertainment business. I ended up not staying at autonomy despite Mike's best advice, and that was a career decision that I think back on maybe I shouldn't have, but eventually both of those opportunities led to 365, which was, as I say, first big UK.com. We built that, grew that, millions of customers all over the world, and proved that, that the digital content world didn't belong to the incumbent big media companies. I did that, then IPO'd that, left after about 4 or 5 years, about a year after we became a public company. I then, my sort of comeback after that break was Lovefilm. And I, with a few old friends of mine, backed by a great investor called Arts Alliance, we had seen what Netflix was doing in the States, and that just felt really comfortable territory for me, new form of entertainment. And so Lovefilm was founded. We fought very hard in an emerging market with, I always tell people there were about 15 Me Too companies at the start. We built, consolidated, took some investment from Amazon in 2008, pioneered the streaming side of the business. So it started as a subscription DVD business, pioneered streaming, and then Amazon invested in us, and eventually Amazon bought us. And so then again, by accident, my career at Amazon started. So I became, first of all, I was involved in turning Lovefilm into what is now Prime Video. And then about 2 years into that, I became Global Chief Creative Officer for everything, for advertising, for devices, retail, emerging technologies like Alexa or Kindle, in all the different countries around the world, and did that for nearly 11 years. Along the way, I also invested in, and co-created or co-founded or became a founding investor in a couple of other businesses. Graze would be one that people know, which was a snack food by post subscription business. And then similarly connected to that, we did the same thing in pet food with Tails. And so I was doing those as a non-exec director and investor until those businesses were sold. And then in the last few years, I've been post-Amazon really doing non-exec jobs, and investing and chairman jobs. And so I have a portfolio these days that ranges from being a governor of the Museum of London, chairman of a creative technology business, chairman, which is called DO, chairman of a podcast to TV business called Novel, an investor in a number of other things. So that was really the journey of really happy accident. I think it was my natural disposition. I was always from an early age interested in TV. I think when I had a job as a paperboy, the first age 11, the first thing I did was buy an old black and white TV and, at all hours consume content from an interest of content making and storytelling, rather than just being a, square eyed. They used to say when I was a kid, if you watch too much TV, you'll get square eyes. But for me, it was, just this content revolution that was going on. And I think the narrative of a good video game was about storytelling. I learned in advertising very early on that, you can tell people the facts and give information, or audiences will respond to storytelling. It's as old as the hills. If you look at the cave dwellings they found in France that are the oldest record of human existence, they had shelter, fire, warmth, protection, and they had cave drawings on the walls. And I always say, that's indicative of the fact that people are using imagination and emotional storytelling as long as we've been walking this earth. And instinctively, I always knew that emotional storytelling in advertising was a better connector and therefore more effective. Subsequently, in later years, proved that at Amazon, we proved that beyond all doubt. But I think I knew that in the 90s and was very influenced by the great British advertising revolution. This country's always punched above its weight, if not been the world leader in advertising. I had a mentor, Sir John Hegarty, founder of BBH, who always encouraged me in whatever I did to be looking to create an emotional connection, and that's what you do through storytelling. So it was my natural disposition, and then all of the businesses that I've been involved in have been optimized through that, whether it's games, whether it's multi-channel television, whether it is Lovefilm was created as a brand from day one for, we always said Lovefilm is a company created by people who love film for people who love film. And so we felt it was incumbent upon ourselves to lean into the storytelling aspect. We weren't just a service provider. It wasn't just a cold, unemotive service. It was we always covered new releases. We covered we were very keen on reviews. And then that's something that I took into Amazon. And I think my time, which was a privilege, working for the senior leadership and for Jeff himself, was very much about how we could do better by establishing an emotional connection through storytelling, which we did, in every category at Amazon, and, through big platforms like the Super Bowl, through to Q4 Christmas advertising, through to new categories that we launched. It was very much the thing. So it was something I was predisposed to anyway, intuitively followed, led, was encouraged by a mentor, and then subsequently, it was successful. It was successful in everything I did, and that was ultimately proved scientifically and vindicated in my time at Amazon. So powerful. And ultimately, as I say, we scientifically proved it at Amazon. And, that I think that's why in my later life, I'm invested in, literally, emotionally and financially invested in companies that are doing that. Novel is all about great storytelling in the podcast arena. DO is about using contemporary science and AI to help people optimize great storytelling. The mental health business I'm involved in as chairman, Jack, is very content driven. It's not science driven, it's content driven to establish connection. And so why fight it? It's every fiber in my body leans towards it. It's scientifically proven, and so that's what gets me out of bed. And well, Lovefilm was a sort of big bang. There were a few entrepreneurs. There was a very entrepreneurial finance company, venture capital company called Arts Alliance, run by Thomas Hogue, who pulled everything together, a fledgling technology platform built by two entrepreneurs from their kitchen table. That was the technology base that we started with. The investment company, or VC, venture capital company, and a couple of individuals, myself and Mark Livingston, all came together in this big bang. So Lovefilm was created. Really, we're just very aware of how this new category of entertainment, DVD by post, efficient distribution, that gave people three things. It gave them range, it gave them, as in selection, as in a wide choice, it gave them convenience. It came to them in envelopes at home. They didn't have to go to a shop which shut, or they certainly didn't get charged late fees, which was the business model at the time by Blockbuster. And it was great value. And so I think we knew those three things. It was the right group of people that came together with all of the right component parts, different skill sets, financial backing, and we just went hell for leather to establish ourselves in that category. We were very influenced by what Netflix was doing in the States. Anyone who says differently is probably not being economical with the truth, because they were an established model that was doing great things in the States. So that's how we came together. And I think we were as a group of individuals and as a business, we were relentless, really driven, really focused on the customer, really focused on those things: selection, value, and convenience. And we gave added value in terms of the content and storytelling that we did around programming. We encouraged the community aspect to it, which I don't think had been done in that space before. People writing reviews, talking about films, recommending. So we had true scores on the films rather than scores that had been given perhaps by a journalist or by the studios themselves. And so I think the relentlessness of what we were doing was that we knew that sooner or later the business was going to move to digital, to a pure digital play, and we pioneered that. So if you Google, I think it was King Kong, I think it was about April 2008, Lovefilm had built a digital player, and we were the world's first completed digital download to own with an official license. And so that period of transition from physical goods by post to pure digital probably took longer than people forecast initially, but when it came a lot quicker. People's shift towards consuming through streaming and digital platforms took longer, but when it did, boy did it come quickly. And so we pioneered the move away from physical subscription to streaming subscription and streaming delivery. And we went, at first we were a hybrid company, 2008 to 2011, and then ultimately we became a fully streaming business. When Amazon acquired Lovefilm, it was with a view to turning the Lovefilm player into what is now the prime Amazon video player. I'm sure it's changed through many technology advances since then, but the first iteration of I think it was called Amazon Prime Instant Video, was a rebranded Lovefilm player. My approach to marketing campaigns from, my first experience in FMCG, I worked on Signal toothpaste, I worked on Boddington's Bitter, I worked on, which came from a regional brewery, I worked on Flora margarine, and I think I learned that originality, creative storytelling, and entertainment. I always think of a contract that exists between a brand and a customer, whereby customers will respond well. There's a line in Gladiator, "Are you not entertained?" where he asks the crowd, "Are you not entertained?" And I always think that that's my job, as a brand, that don't take it as a given that you just tell people a bit of information about yourself and that will do it. I think going that bit further and establishing a connection through emotional storytelling is so much more effective and so much more better. Something that, as I say, we proved scientifically in my later years at Amazon. But a great marketing campaign is one that is like a great deal. A good deal in business is where everyone walks away from that deal thinking that they've got a good outcome. And I think a great marketing campaign is where everyone walks away from it thinking they've got a good outcome. The brand behind it, the business behind it, and the consumer that's consumed it, and the consumer that goes on to hopefully then purchase or engage or do whatever it was that the brand wanted to do. If you've connected emotionally with something original and something that is true, that engages in that way, then I think that's what makes for a great campaign. I hope that they take away an encouragement to be bold, innovative. I hope they come away optimistic. It's especially at the moment in life and in business, we're probably in a tough period. The world at large, the economy, competitive pressures. I hope that people come away with a sense of optimism and a belief that they can change that. And I have always believed that, when I was a really junior account man, very junior creative, it's been my experience that I've been able to effect change. And at every level in my life, I feel that I've been involved with people. And the thing that's consistent is my belief that I can drive change for better. And that doesn't mean I'm on a spiritual quest, or it doesn't mean that I'm a do-gooder. I do mean from a business perspective as well. But I hope people will come away seeing that if I can make it, and for whatever, in comparative terms, I don't know how it is, but I think I've done all right in life. I've definitely been lucky. I've definitely worked hard. I've definitely had grit. I've definitely never given up. But I hope that people will see my story, recognize in that something that's valuable to them, and provide them with a reason to go and do something about it and go and do something positive.